Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 3 of Her Streets. My name is Yenzo.
And I'm Cameron, and today we're diving into the real stories behind these apps, specifically the apps of WatchSafe and One Scream that are aiding in public spaces. And the best part of today's interview is that we're going to be joined by an incredible woman to share her first-hand experience with the app.
So you won't want to miss that. Hello everyone and welcome back to Her Streets. In today's episode, we will be interviewing a special guest as we mentioned in episode 2, and her name is Asibe. And we will be interviewing her about her experience with safety apps and the likes. So thank you for joining us, firstly.
Your pleasure, love to be here.
Our first question is, how long have you lived in the city and what has your experience been like thus far?
I've lived in the city for 5 years, and then I left, and then I came back. So it's like roughly 5-6 years.
Oh,
yeah, it's been quite an experience, I must say. Yeah, just navigating the city and learning, because I'm from the Eastern Cape, so the city for me is something very big. I still can't cross the streets, but yes.
Yeah.
Like how long have you lived in the city? Yes.
Yeah. And what drew you to safety apps in the first place?
Well, when I was 10, right, my mom encouraged me to start running, right?
Yeah.
And I took it on as a hobby, but it was not that serious. And the more I realized that with school and there was a lot of stress, and I was like, let me start running. And of course, we live in South Africa, and that's what drew me to safety apps, because it's like you'd rather be safe than sorry, especially in with the increasing gender-based violence, cases. So it's just like that's what drew me to safety apps, just take that extra measure, just to make sure that I'm safe whilst navigating even new neighborhoods. For example, you find me like in Cape Town, and I'll just try a new neighborhood, and I don't even know what that neighborhood is like, but safety apps have been able to help me navigate that.
And how has it impacted your life?
Oh man, it's really changed my life in the sense that, for example, in Johannesburg, just coming back from Cape Town, like Cape Town is more chill, right? So you wouldn't really expect a lot of a lot of just a lot of disruption. So it's always easy. You always find other runners and there's running clubs. But in Johannesburg, it's a bit difficult, especially when you live in Braamfontein. Trying to just take a jog from here to Mall Park is a bit unsafe. It has really just impacted my life in that sense. It's really changed the narrative for me. It's just for example, with one of the apps that I use, it just helps me to find crime hotspots, and that's one thing I've really just helped me navigate a few spaces.
And I think it's very interesting because with Braam, it's like a very unique city in that it's very fast paced. It's not taking time to actually consider the unique experiences, especially for women. And I think one of the topics themes we had talked about was kind of the intersectionality between gender and safety and technology, and how that's kind of changing the game for a lot of women. And you were telling us that some of the apps, I think you were talking about WatchSafe and One Scream. These apps are particularly helpful in public spaces. So do you think that it kind of offers features what's kind of the unique features of the app?
I think with WatchSafe, it helps you find a lot of crime hotspots, especially around the city. Sometimes even if I feel like cycling, because there's a cycling club close to the old mangrove building. I think now it's called Cheekies, something along those lines. Yes, so it helps you find such crime hotspots. So even when you're just wanting to take just a ride around the city, you can know which spaces to avoid. For example, you wouldn't want to go towards the Hillbrow side, or even when you're wanting to go towards Houghton and stuff. There are certain streets that you shouldn't take because it still borders into Hillbrow and all those spaces. That's one thing I really love about it, even with current recent crimes. It's just, it documents such. And then One Scream is also one that's just, it gets activated if I just scream. I can't scream, but I try my best to just, and then it sends it to emergency contact which are mostly my cousins and my parents. Yeah.
Wow. And is actually helpful.
Yes, it is. I do feel like there could be a few features that it could be integrated into it, but like it's really helpful because also it's like having a pepper spray. Like you'll never really use it, but like it just makes you feel safe.
Yeah.
or like a taser, but I don't carry a taser. I might tase myself. Like yes, it's just the mental just state of oh no, I do have something to just as backup whilst navigating the city. It is not recommended to just take a jog alone, but I do a lot of things alone, so it's just like why not? And having those apps there has been really just helpful in terms of just feeling safe in that sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that leads to kind of our last question is what do you think could be integrated currently into these apps to kind of help capture the unique experiences women face on a daily basis?
I think with One Scream particularly, I think it could be really integrated with a lot of features with Be Safe, with live recording, and just setting false like calls, etc. I feel like there could be a lot of elements that could be integrated into one app, right? And even just calling the police, but you know how calling the police is. But also there are neighborhood watch like elements or groups. So if you're in that particular neighborhood, something that would be really nice is just having that activator linked to each neighborhood. It's like as you navigate from one neighborhood to the next, you can just easily be able to contact someone who's nearby. Or even like bad boys, they also are great. Yeah, they're a great security measure that has been added to ROM, and some walk you home if you feel like I can't, I'm scared. So like just being integrated with them or just sending those alerts to them as well would be really helpful. So just using the local measures instead of just running essentially just to the police.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks so much for that. I think it's really important that we also see real life examples of these apps being used, not just discussing the theory of them, and just doing apps, but also seeing the practicality of it. And I really like how in one of the answers you said that the app is that it helps you basically do things on your own. And I think one thing that we spoke about actually in the previous episode is how these apps also help women reclaim space within the city, because the city is meant for everyone. So if these apps are able to make women feel like they belong in a space and they can navigate it independently as we went to, I think that shows that we're a step in the right direction. But obviously there's still space for tweaking to make the apps better.
Especially in, we brought this issue up in the last episode of the African context, and how sometimes moving into this digital age, it's very easy to kind of reinforce these inequalities, especially for marginalized groups. So I think there's definitely room to kind of improve on that, and I think, something we have to consider.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining
Thank
us.
you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure being here.
And thank you for listening to our interview with Asiwe.
Online, so an app Moonlight, which is similar to WalkSafe in terms of the features it offers. One woman shared that she really had peace of mind in navigating a certain route that she wouldn't particularly use, just because the app allowed her to kind of tap for an emergency alert. So these stories are just some of the examples that look into empowering women to kind of reclaim public space, and we are definitely going to get into this topic in this episode.
But as Vish, Moab, and Basu highlight, it's not just about having an app. It's about how it's designed. Safety apps can reduce vulnerability, but only if they're intuitive and actually meet the user's needs.
Yes. So exactly, and this another article in the similar theme was Patel et al. 2019, and he talks about how user-specific design is key in the design of the app. So things like intuitive interfaces, customizable features, and even real-time support can offer really effective outcomes in regards to the app. And this reading particularly approaches it by saying that it goes beyond traditional one-size-fits-all approach. And if it considers and incorporates factors like cultural background, users' abilities, prior knowledge, and even emotional state of the user in midst of the app, it creates more intuitive, effective experiences.
Yeah, and designing with women in mind means understanding their unique safety concerns. You know, that could be anonymous reporting, it could be regular safety check-ins, it could be or even features that connect users to supportive communities.
Yeah, and let's not forget, I think we brought this up in episode 2, is that not everyone has access. And it's something that, regardless of language and tech skills, these apps really need to make it an inclusive space. So this is a lesson straight out of Hair and Chair 2024 reading, emphasizing that in this digital era, we must consider new ways to kind of include and encourage users of every background to use the app. And it points out that when these platforms are then constructed with the assumption of high literacy, dominant language, usage, and technical expertise, it kind of excludes marginalized communities. And so something that could have been used for inclusive and empowering force for planning is now something that is reflecting a conventional planning mechanism.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, honestly. You know, community engagement is very crucial, and it's reminiscent of Prof. Fanner's his article where he discussed the analysis that underlines the real community engagement. It's not just a buzzword. It's essential for ensuring that urban planning becomes an inclusive, transparent process where the voices of those directly affected drive advocacy and policy change. So it's not just about slapping on that word just to say that you're using it, you know. And apps like My Safety Pin lets users to contribute to safety audits, giving planners real data on what needs fixing.
Yes, and another article in a similar echoing of that was Sing 2020, and her argument was that when women share their first-hand experiences of the city, you know, without even thinking about this digital platforms as a mechanism, it's even, you know, even by looking at navigating poorly lit streets or isolated transit stops or even unsafe public spaces, it can really offer invaluable insights that extend beyond statistical bias or abstract planning models, and these can then highlight the nuanced challenges and the lived realities to kind of allow planning to become more responsive and tailored to context-specific issues.
Yeah, definitely. And by working together, you know, that being users, designers, and us as planners, we can really create urban spaces that prioritize women's safety and their agency.
So join us for, you know, this conversation, for further conversation. Share your thoughts on safety apps and community engagement, and let's kind of push for cities that are inclusive of women's needs.